You know the feeling. Not the anger itself. That part you know too well. I'm talking about the moment after. The silence in the room. The door you just slammed. The words still hanging in the air that you'd give anything to pull back in. You're standing there, chest still tight, hands still slightly unsteady, and something shifts inside you. Not calm, not relief, something worse. Shame. Because you promised yourself this wouldn't happen again. Last time, lying in bed that night, you said, "That's it. I'm done reacting like that. I'm better than that." And you meant it. You genuinely meant it. But here you are. And the person in front of you, or maybe the person who just walked away, is looking at you in a way you don't like. Or maybe you're alone, and the only person looking at you is yourself, and that's somehow even harder. Here's what I want to say before we go any further. You are not broken. You are not a bad person. You are a man who was never taught to look beneath his anger. And that's not a character flaw. That's a gap in your education. One that almost no one fills for us. That's what today's about. Not managing anger. Not suppressing it.
Not pretending it doesn't exist. Today we're going to look at what your anger is actually trying to tell you. Because it has been trying to tell you something for a long time. Let me start with something that might feel uncomfortable to hear. Anger is not your enemy. I know that doesn't match what you've been told. Maybe you've been told you have anger issues. Maybe someone important to you has said your temper is a problem. Maybe you've told yourself that your anger is the thing standing between you and the life you want. And I understand why it feels that way. Because the consequences of anger, the damaged relationships, the things said in heat that can't be unsaid, the version of yourself you become in those moments, those consequences are real. And they cost you things you care about. But anger itself, the raw emotion beneath all of that, it's not the enemy. It's a messenger. And right now, most of us are shooting the messenger. We're either suppressing the anger, pushing it down, going quiet, holding it in, until it eventually explodes in ways we can't control. Or we're surrendering to it, letting it drive, saying whatever it wants to say, doing whatever it wants to do, and dealing with the wreckage afterward. Neither of those is mastery. Mastery is something different. Mastery is learning to hear what anger is actually saying, and then choosing, deliberately, what you do with that information. That's what we're going to build today. But before we get to the solution, we need to spend some real time with the problem. Because most advice about anger skips this part. Most advice jumps straight to breathing exercises and counting to 10, without ever asking the question that actually matters. Why does this keep happening? Not just once, not just when life gets hard, but again and again, in the same situations, with the same people, producing the same shame. To answer that honestly, we have to go inside. Imagine you're driving. Traffic is slow. You've had a long day. The kind of long day where everything required more from you than it should have. Small frictions that built up, one after another, like stones stacked on your chest. And then someone cuts you off.
That's it. That's the trigger. One car, one moment, half a second of road. And inside you, something ignites. Not gradually, not after careful consideration. Instantly. Your jaw tightens. Your grip on the steering wheel changes. Your thoughts go somewhere dark, fast. And if you're not careful, your hand finds the horn, or your mouth finds words you'd rather not say. All of that happened before you consciously decided anything. That's not weakness. That's biology. In the 1990s, a psychologist named Daniel Goleman popularized a concept called the amygdala hijack. The amygdala is the part of your brain responsible for detecting threats. It's ancient, far older than the part of your brain that reasons, plans, and reflects. And when it senses danger, it doesn't wait for a committee meeting. It fires first, and it fires fast. And it recruits your body before your rational mind has even had time to ask, wait, is this actually dangerous?
In the wild, this was essential. A predator doesn't give you time to think. The men who survived weren't the ones who stopped to analyze. They were the ones whose bodies reacted before their minds could slow them down. The problem is, that system didn't get the memo. It doesn't know the difference between a lion and a text message from someone who said something that felt dismissive. It doesn't know the difference between a fire and your partner saying something in a tone that reminded you of how you felt as a child when you weren't being taken seriously. It doesn't distinguish between a genuine physical threat and the feeling of not being respected in a meeting at work. To the amygdala, a threat is a threat. And so it hijacks you. Your heart rate climbs, your body prepares, your rational brain, the part of you that knows how to respond instead of react, that understands consequences, that can hold complexity, goes offline. Not permanently, just long enough. Long enough for damage to happen. This is not an excuse for the damage. Let me be direct about that. Understanding why anger moves fast doesn't give you permission to let it run without consequence. But it does do something important. It removes the moral charge. You're not a monster because anger moves fast in you. You're a human being with a nervous system that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years. The system isn't broken. It's just misfiring, aimed at the wrong targets. When you understand that, you can stop fighting yourself and start getting curious instead. And curiosity is where everything changes. Here's the part no one teaches us. Anger, in most situations, is not the first thing that happens inside you. It's the second. Something happens first. Something softer. Something more vulnerable. Something that, if you're honest, feels a lot more dangerous to acknowledge than anger does. Anger is loud. Anger feels powerful. Anger in the moment feels like action, like you're doing something, defending something, protecting something. But beneath the anger, most of the time is something that feels like the opposite of power. It might be hurt, the specific pain of feeling like you don't matter to someone who should know better. It might be fear, not the dramatic kind, not terror, but the quieter fear of losing something, or someone, or the version of your life you thought you were building. It might be shame, the feeling that something has exposed you, some inadequacy, some failure, some part of you that you've worked hard to keep hidden, and now it's visible. It might be grief, the the loss of how things used to be, or how you thought they would be. These emotions, hurt, fear, shame, grief, are what psychologists call primary emotions. They arrive first. They're the signal. Anger is what happens when those emotions feel too dangerous to sit with. Think about it. A man who has learned over many years that showing vulnerability is not safe, that being soft leads to being taken advantage of, that expressing hurt leads to ridicule, that admitting fear makes him a target, that man doesn't have many options when a primary emotion arrives. He doesn't know how to stay with the hurt. He doesn't know how to acknowledge the fear. He hasn't been given language for the shame. So the emotion that does know how to speak, the emotion that feels powerful, that feels active, takes over. Anger steps in as the bodyguard. And that's exactly what it is. A bodyguard for an emotion that feels too vulnerable to show up on its own. Let me make this concrete, because it's easy to nod along and miss how real this is in your own life. Think about a recent moment when you got angry, a specific one. Hold it in your mind. Now go beneath it. What was actually happening for you a moment before the anger arrived? Someone didn't respond to your message for hours. The anger felt like irritation, maybe contempt. But beneath it, was there a quiet fear that you aren't a priority to them? That you might be losing them? A conversation went somewhere that made you feel stupid, or dismissed, or talked over. The anger felt like defensiveness, maybe aggression. But beneath it, was there hurt? The specific sting of not being seen by someone whose opinion matters to you? You made a mistake, missed something important. The anger turned inward, became self-criticism, became an outburst when someone touched the wrong topic. But beneath it, was there shame? The old familiar feeling of not being enough? This isn't therapy. I'm not asking you to lie on a couch and excavate your childhood. I'm asking you to do something simpler and much harder. I'm asking you to look beneath the surface. Because the man who can't do that, the man who only knows the anger and never questions what's underneath, is a man who will keep repeating the same cycle. The same outburst, the same shame, the same promise to himself, the same outburst. Not because he's weak, but because he's only ever been given half the picture. There's a book that has survived almost 2,000 years, not because it was published, not because it was meant to be read. It was a private journal, a set of notes a man wrote to himself, alone, working through his own failures of mind and character. The man's name was Marcus Aurelius. He was, by every measure of the ancient world, one of the most powerful men who ever lived. Emperor of Rome, commander of armies, the final authority over the lives of millions of people. And in his private writings he never intended anyone to see, he wrote to himself as if he were a student. He wrote about patience, about restraint, about the gap between what he felt and what he chose to do, about how easy it is to be carried away by the first impulse, and how much discipline it takes to pause. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Read that again, slowly. Not
power over events, not the ability to control what other people do, or what happens in traffic, or what tone someone uses with you, or whether life is fair. Power over your mind.
The Stoics, the school of philosophy that Marcus practiced, understood something that most modern men are only beginning to rediscover. The thing that determines the quality of your life is not primarily what happens to you. It is what happens inside you in response to what happens to you. They called this the faculty of choice, prohairesis in Greek. The one domain that belongs entirely to you. The one place where no one can take your freedom unless you give it to them. And they were brutally honest about how rarely we exercise this. Most of us live as if the anger is automatic, as if there's no space between the trigger and the response, as if we are simply machinery. You press this button, this output happens. Someone says the wrong thing, I explode. Life goes wrong, I react. Someone disrespects me, I fire back. But Marcus Aurelius, a man who dealt with wars, betrayals, political enemies, personal losses, and the crushing weight of empire, spent his entire private life arguing against that idea. There is always a space, he said, even when it's small, even when it's just a breath. And in that space, that fraction of a second between what happens and what you do is your entire power. He wasn't describing a man without emotion. He wasn't describing a stone figure unmoved by life. He was describing a man who feels everything and chooses anyway. There's something important in that, because the version of strength we're often sold looks like not feeling. Stoicism gets misread as suppression, as coldness, as disconnecting from the human experience. That's not what Marcus was practicing. He felt grief when his children died. He felt frustration at the men around him who failed to live up to their ideals. He felt the weight of decisions that cost lives. What he practiced, what he trained himself toward, imperfectly and daily, was the art of responding rather than reacting. Reacting is automatic. It's the amygdala. It's the system that evolved to keep you alive in dangerous environments. Responding is deliberate. It's the pause. It's the breath. It's the question. What is this emotion actually telling me? And what do I actually want to do with that information? The gap between reacting and responding is not large, but everything important lives inside it. I want to tell you about a kind of man I've seen described again and again, in therapy rooms, in honest conversations, in letters and memoirs and private accounts. He's not a famous man. He's ordinary. He's the kind of man you might know, the kind of man you might be. He grew up in a house where emotions weren't talked about, where problems were either ignored or handled with volume, where the lesson learned, not through words but through watching, was that feelings are inconveniences, and the right response to inconvenience is to push through it. He became a man who functioned well under pressure, who could get things done, who seemed, from the outside, like he had it together. But in close relationships, something kept going wrong. Small things set him off. Things that, afterward, he could see clearly weren't worth the reaction. A partner saying something that landed wrong. A friend not showing up the way he expected. A parent making a comment that brought something old and heavy to the surface. And he'd react. And then he'd be ashamed. And he'd try harder to hold it in. And it would build. And eventually, something would crack it open again. For years, he told himself the problem was the people around him. They were too sensitive, too demanding, too much. And then one day, not dramatically, not in a single moment of revelation, but gradually, through honest reflection, he started to ask a different question. Not, what did they do to make me react? But what was I actually feeling before the anger arrived? And when he sat with that question, really sat with it, what he found wasn't comfortable. He found the fear, the specific, old, very quiet fear that he wasn't enough, that eventually the people he loved would see that clearly and leave. He found the hurt, the years of feeling unseen in ways he'd never told anyone about, because expressing hurt had always felt like losing. He found the shame, moments from years earlier that had never been processed, that still lived somewhere in his chest, that got activated when a current situation rhymed with them. None of this made him weak. Finding it made him the strongest he had ever been. Because once he knew what was actually driving the anger, he had something he'd never had before. A choice. Not to suppress, not to perform emotions he didn't feel, but to actually respond to the real thing, the underlying emotion, instead of defending himself from a threat that was usually much smaller than it felt. He still got angry. That's not the point. Anger didn't disappear, but it stopped running his life. And that's the difference. So, how do you actually do this? Not as a concept, as a practice. Something you can start today in your actual life with actual situations. There are 3 things worth understanding before we get to the exercise. The first is this: you will not catch every moment in real time. Not at first. The goal in the beginning is not to pause in the middle of the anger and perform some perfect rational analysis. That's not realistic. And setting yourself up for that standard is setting yourself up to feel like you failed. The goal in the beginning is to do the work after the fact. When the moment has passed, when you're calm, when the shame has settled a little, you sit with the situation. You reconstruct what happened inside you. And you ask, what was I actually feeling before the anger came? Over time, and I want to be clear that this is a process that unfolds over months, not a weekend, you begin to recognize the patterns. You start to notice the specific situations that activate specific underlying emotions. You realize, when I feel dismissed in a conversation, there's hurt just beneath the surface. When I feel like someone is leaving, there's fear. When I make a public mistake, there's shame. Once you know your own patterns, the pause becomes possible in the moment because you've already mapped the territory. The second thing to understand is that naming an emotion genuinely does something physiological. This isn't just psychological comfort. Neuroscience has shown that when you name what you're feeling, not just angry, but the specific underlying emotion, it decreases activity in the amygdala. It moves you from the emotional brain toward the reflective brain. The psychologist Dan Siegel describes this as name it to tame it. That phrase sounds simple. It is simple. But the actual practice of sitting with an uncomfortable emotion long enough to name it accurately is not simple. It takes genuine courage. The third thing, This is not about never being angry. Let me be very clear about that. Anger, in the right contexts, is entirely appropriate. There are injustices worth being angry about. There are violations of your values that deserve a strong response. There are moments when anger is the only honest thing you can bring to a situation. What we're building here is not the elimination of anger. We're building the capacity to choose what you do with it. The Stoics didn't aspire to be men without emotion. They aspired to be men whose emotions served their choices, rather than overriding them. That's the target.
Here is the exercise. It has 3 steps, not because 3 is a magic number, but because more than 3 and it becomes a framework instead of a practice. Step 1. Notice the physical signal. Before anger becomes a response, it becomes a sensation. Your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, your breathing changes, your hands or face feel different. Your body knows before your mind does. The first practice is simply learning to recognize your own signal. Everyone's is slightly different. Identify yours. When you feel that sensation, that specific physical thing that always arrives before the outburst, that's your early warning system. You don't have to do anything yet. Just notice. Step 2, name the real emotion. In the moment, or immediately after the moment is past, ask yourself one question. What was I actually feeling before the anger arrived? Don't rush the answer. Don't accept the first word that comes. Sit with it. Was it hurt? Fear? Shame? Grief? Frustration at feeling powerless? The pain of feeling unseen? Go beneath the anger. Find the real thing. The more specifically you can name it, not just I was hurt, but I felt like I didn't matter to someone I thought I mattered to, the more useful it is. Specificity is not weakness. Specificity is precision. It's the difference between a general pain and a diagnosis. Step 3. Choose the response. Once you know what the real emotion is, you have options you didn't have before. You can address the actual feeling instead of defending against a perceived attack. Instead of escalating, you might say, "That landed in a way that hurt me more than I showed." Instead of shutting down, you might say, "I need a few minutes before I can talk about this properly." Instead of taking the anger out on someone who doesn't deserve it, you might take a walk, write down what you're actually feeling, or do something physical that lets the body complete the stress cycle without directing it at another person. None of this is soft. None of it is backing down. It is the most difficult thing most men never learn to do. Feel something uncomfortable, name it honestly, and choose their response rather than surrendering to their reaction. That is what Marcus Aurelius spent his life practicing. That is what emotional mastery actually looks like. Let's come back to where we started. The silence after the anger. The shame. The promise that it won't happen again. I want you to think about that moment differently now. Not as a moral failure. Not as evidence that you're fundamentally broken, but as a moment of information. The anger was a signal. It was your inner world knocking, trying to get your attention. using the only language it had available, because no one had taught it any others. The shame afterward is also a signal. It means you care. It means you have a sense of who you want to be, and you feel the distance between that and what happened. That's not nothing. That's actually the beginning of something. The man who feels nothing afterward has a different problem. You, the man who feels that discomfort, who lies awake replaying it, who genuinely wishes things had gone differently, you have the material to work with. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The anger is not standing in the way of the man you want to become. It is the way. Learn to read it. Learn to hear what's beneath it. Practice the pause, even badly, even imperfectly, even 1 time out of 10. And that 1 time will slowly become 2, and then 3. And gradually the distance between the trigger and the response will widen. Not because you've suppressed anything, because you've understood something. The strongest man in the room is not the one who shows the most force. He is the one who has the most control over himself. That man is available to you. He has been there all along, waiting beneath the anger, asking to be heard. Here's the one thing I want you to carry with you. Anger is a secondary emotion. Beneath it, almost always, is something that needs to be heard. Something vulnerable. Something real. Something that deserves your attention more than the anger does. You don't have to master this overnight. You don't have to become a different man by next Tuesday. You just have to start asking the question, what am I actually feeling beneath this? Ask it once, sincerely, and then ask it again next time. That question, practiced quietly, patiently, without judgment, is how the Stoics lived. It's how Marcus Aurelius governed an empire and his own mind at the same time. And it's how you become the calm man. Not the man without emotion. The man who understands his emotions well enough to choose what comes next. That's what we're building here. 1 episode, 1 honest question, 1 deliberate pause at a time. I'll see you in the next one.